Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
The white zone is for loading and unloading of heretics only. The red zone is for loading and unloading of traitors only. Mind the gap.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Mike Haspil, and Wyatt Turk from Jacket Close Painting. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Hail and well met.
What's up, guys?
So I think this is the part of the show where we can't remember not being in our houses, and we should probably remind everybody that there's at least local game stores out there that might potentially need a little helping hand.
Yeah, this is the first, because last week we did a quarantine stream, but it was a whole week ago. A lot has happened since then. Earlier we talked about, we did witness that our podcast numbers were cut in half. Then Rob and I were speculating on it, and it was like, oh, fuck, people aren't driving to work. A lot of people in a hard spot right now, small businesses included. And Haspil earlier mentioned something that he's been doing.
Yeah, so if you can afford this, like I'm one of the lucky guys who I'm working from home. I worked from home before, so my whole work stream is not really, my income stream has not been disrupted. So what I've been doing is I call up Gamers Haven, my friendly local game store, and I'm putting stuff on store credit and buying like gift certificates and stuff. I know I'm going to spend that money. You know what I mean? And I on average spend, depends what comes out, but I spend about $200 there anyway a month. So just call up the owner if you can get a hold of him, or try to figure out something, hit him on social media, and just go ahead and pick up, put some store credit down, or pick up a gift certificate or something to help that cash flow, because a lot of these small businesses, they're only 30 days away from going under. My local comic shop closed their doors because of this, and they're not coming back. They're gone. Yeah.
And to be clear, Haspil is not saying stretch yourself beyond your means. Like, a lot of people are in a real bind right now. And so our whole entire platform has multiple layers of monetization, donations, and subscriptions. Like, if it's not in your, don't treat us as a bill anymore. You got to look to your family first, obviously your personal health. But if you are in Haspil's situation, that is an incredible idea. I can't believe I didn't think of that, Haspil.
Yeah, it wasn't original to me. I didn't come up with it. So,
well, I think a lot of folks, a lot of game stores, they're doing mail order, they'll do curbside, pickup or whatever. You just got to check with your local store, but it's best to try to get ahead of the curve. If there's going to be stuff you need, or if you just want to, throw some store credit on there, that's cool. But eventually, as the supply chain starts to become limited, it's going to be harder to find specific things. So, keep all this in mind when you're deciding what to do with your hobby dollars right now, what you think your anticipated needs might be for the next, say 2 months, 3 months, maybe. And just, try to get them covered and do what you can where you can. That's really it.
Thank you for the PSA, Rob. Now, to lighten it up, we're going to turn it over to the legendary Wyatt Turk of Jacket Close Painting for a joke. While he is muted, which is hilarious. So, welcome to our haha show.
Sorry about that. It's a would you rather. It's not a joke.
That was a joke. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Would you rather work for Joe Exotic or be married to that bitch, Carol Baskin?
Oh.
It's easy for me. I'd marry Carol. Got lots of reasons why.
Oh, man.
First off, I'm not trying to get hooked on meth, turned out, and basically get raped by a dude. So I don't want to work for him.
You get it chopped up, fed to tigers for your money.
So if she did that, which we've determined is a 33% chance based on that show.
I mean, you have.
I'm gonna marry Carol.
Yeah, I think that's a safer route to go.
And you still get cats. I feel real bad for Joe. I feel real bad for him, but at the end of the day, there's somebody who's stable. And there's somebody who's
first off, Carol's rich. She's a good business person. If if we go with it's a fact, which I don't believe it is, she means she's only killed 1 out of 3 of her husbands, which is still a 33% chance. So all I'm saying is that's a smart bet. You're rich, taken care of, and you have a very small chance of dying. If you work for Joe, you're probably going to get your arm ripped off. You're probably going to get hooked on meth, among other things.
I mean, only one of his employees
missing 2 legs, yo.
He didn't. That was not tiger related.
Yeah, that was a zipline accident.
Yes.
Ah, God.
So the moral of that story is don't use zip lines.
Yeah.
Yep. Watch that South Park episode. I wish I'd never gone ziplining.
I 100%. I think Carol is the safer bet.
I'm genuinely terrified of Joe Exotic. He is. Think about this. If you've seen it, that dude is possibly one of the most talented individuals who's ever lived. Like, that dude literally has a drive and an ambition that he's capable of almost any task at a high level. He happened to be into tigers. And then that's what, drove him. But if you watch the documentary, you treat it all as it's real, and that's the facts. The dude was managing campaigns, presidential and governor. He got 19% of the vote for governor. He put out dozens of music videos, which, while laughable, do take a degree of ambition and skill, while maintaining a live internet show, which, while laughable, takes a degree of ambition, hustle, and skill, while maintaining a 200 cat population in a roadside zoo, while maintaining a workforce. Many laughable qualities there, but the hustle and drive of that dude, practically unparalleled. I'm genuinely terrified of Joe Exotic. I think unanimously choose Carol.
Yeah.
Who would you? We're going to turn it back on the Dijon. Who would you choose?
I mean, I'd work for Joe because he pays his employees
$115 a week.
I mean, it's better than free.
Is it though? Because you have to live in a trailer on property eating Walmart rotten meat? Well, if you only make $115 a week, it's pretty much all you can afford.
Dude, that Walmart truck scene was real.
Ugh.
That was brutal. I was like, oh my God.
I'd rather work for Doc Ansel's.
Be part of his sex cult.
I forgot about that. Nope. Back to Carol.
That was easy.
All right. Good one.
We had an easy one.
So if you guys haven't seen it, you guys got to go watch it. But also Tom Segura's comedy special has now, we're one person away in this podcast from the whole podcast having seen that. So we can let all the jokes fly, all the references.
Rob, what's it called? Balls deep?
Ball hog.
Ball hog. Yeah.
That is exactly what it's called, Rob.
Okay.
Ball head.
I'll find it.
It's volume 7 or 8 though.
That's right. Chad understands what we're talking about. Oh, it's so God. Good. It's so, because we did discuss it earlier, and it's like, I think one of the reasons it's funny that you guys agreed with was that it's not just he's had funnier jokes and funnier tours. It's that like this is like that perfect blend of like comedy and almost a TED Talk. Mm-hmm. And it covers so many things. It is so good. Incredible content.
So good.
Friend of the show, Tom Segura.
He also has an amazing podcast and some dope shirts. I think we need to get into the meme shirt business based on the stuff that we say on the podcast.
Yeah. And he's the guy who originated bikes. Before GW even put Custodes out.
And even before they put bikes all caps that one time.
That's right.
We could start our meme shirt business with Rob for president.
There you go.
Yep.
You need to grow out a mullet and a mustache.
Let's be real. Neither of those things is happening.
No. Okay.
Not because I don't want to, because I can't.
Fact. I saw Tiger and Tiger saw man. So let's jump into the tabletop marketplace with Rob. He's got some things to cover.
Like all sorts of things. So obviously there's some previews on Saturday. There's going to be some previews this Saturday around 9:30, 10 o'clock Eastern. They'll be getting into new content. But so if you missed it last week, they showed off new Lion, new Fabius Bile, some new elves, some battle cattle, which are
actually think they're really cool.
Hilarious. Like, this, I don't know.
I've really embraced the over the top aspect of the fantasy in Age of Sigmar, and I really like it because like old fantasy is just boring. I mean, it's all just kind of copy and paste from one source or another. And with Age of Sigmar, like love it or hate the rule set. You know, I don't even play the game, but I do think the models are dope, and I think the lore is like way more interesting.
The lore is very, very different.
I like its uniqueness.
Yeah, it does a really good job of breaking away from that Tolkien-esque, D&D-esque fantasy.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that was the whole point to them blowing up the old world, was that they wanted to make their own version that they could basically IP. And that happened 5 years ago, by the way. Like 2 months from now, that happened 5 years ago. It's crazy.
And I'm gonna take a tangent real quick, but if you want to read a cool kind of fantasy story with cattle in it, check out, it's a Celtic mystery, or not mystery, mythological tale called The Cattle Raid of Cooley.
See, I thought you were going to go off about the sheriffs of Moo Mesa. I'm an expert on that show.
Lord.
No, this is like legit. It's like, I think it's a story about Cuchulainn, and it's legit like Irish mythology. So because it's Irish mythology, it's not going to have a happy ending. It's like,
So we saw all that. I think for me, my favorite part of the previews was probably the animation, the shorts. I think was the Death's Hand.
I'm so hyped about that.
Yeah,
I love the sort of dark comic booky Mike Mignola style of the animation.
It felt more like Batman Adventures to me, like from the 90s, or maybe X-Men Adventures. Like just it wasn't as dark as
comic style. Like the shadows are pure black.
Bro, when's the last time you watched the X-Men from the 90s?
It does not stand.
It is garbage, bro. They didn't have shadows, please.
But the Batman does. Batman Adventures.
The Calidus transformation.
That was
sweet.
That was,
and then the power sword, or
the soul blade thing. Yeah,
everything about it is so dope. I cannot wait. If the other concept art we've seen is to be believed, either in the same movie or maybe series, we're going to see Talos and the boys from the Night Lord series.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so hyped about that.
It reminded me of like old school Liquid Television, Eon Flux type stuff.
Eon Flux was it was a little too scratchy for me. I didn't like it. It was like all shifty and
I know what you mean.
I know
what you mean. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good. So I think I definitely think a lot of folks are excited for more previews. And I gave them a suggestion, actually. I was like, hey, what do you think about just doing one every Saturday in April? Like, I think people would really be into that. If you could spread out the content, you might want to think about it. They were very nice about my idea, but I don't think they're going to do it. So
I'd be down for that. But
I mentioned it because I think it would be cool. Like, if you have 2 hours of content, why couldn't you turn it into 30 minutes of content and spread it out? But I don't know. Obviously, everything's going to get backed up. We know, like, Engine War was supposed to come out this month, so that probably means it's going to be next month, which we'll bump back.
And also the
Spider.
The company that produces the Citadel paints has switched over to making hand sanitizer, and I don't know. It's not like Lysol brand, but like cleaning antibacterial soap liquids.
Yeah.
So hoard that null oil. You ain't getting any more.
There was also a preview today for all those Titanicus faithful. The new Defense of Ryza book will be coming in shortly. It actually just hit the ports.
I believe it's pronounced Riza.
Yes, yeah. The Defense of Riza, because he can't defend himself.
Nine Titans is a lot of Titans, dude.
Yeah,
Nine is a lot of anything if you really think about it.
It's true.
And speaking of that, Rob, I built my third model from Titan.
What?
Yeah. So I'm slowly but surely getting there. I'll be a player someday.
Nice. I'm down. I'm super excited. So I have committed on my hobby side of things. I have committed to finishing my painted projects before I start assembling just assembling stuff. Because I was assembling stuff. I would go out and it was just easier to just grab my tools and like put things together when I was like out and about at like stores. But now that I'm not doing that, I don't really have to assemble as much. So now I'm like trying to get, like I got some of the new Titanicus stuff half painted. I just got to like tighten up with the details and the Sharpie markers and then, wash it and get those edge highlights on there and base them. So that's my kind of hobby goals for this, shelter in place sort of thing. So I'm trying to complete my painted projects, which I just knocked out. I got like 11 Custody jet bikes finally finished. Just finished up 17 Death Rider horses for Death Corps, which I guess you only can use them with Death Corps now because they got rid of Rough Riders, but that's okay. They're still cool models. So that's kind of what I'm doing on that side of things. So the previews are going to be great. Titanicus, a new book coming out at some point, and we know that there's going to be Cerastus Knights as well, which will be pretty cool to see. I think it's a 2-pack, if I remember correctly. The Lancer and the not the Lancer, the Castigator and Acheron? Yeah, Acheron. GW new release too. You can go over to the site till April 14th and pick up that limited edition Primaris Lieutenant on their site right now. I think they said to ship it out in 120 days. It's $35. It's the one from Adepticon and a couple other events. We did a review on it. It's basically ETB. Like you can literally push fit it together. It's pretty cool looking for sure. It's a cool model, and your local game stores, I think, have been allocated 10 of them. So, if you're trying to throw some store credit at something or trying to pick something up, just say,
just buy it and reserve it.
There you go. So that's some money in the bank for some of the local game stores here going forward. Retail watch on some of the retailers out there. Pop Goes the Monkey just released he licensed, it's called the Arch Battle Knight. It's by Antonius. He licensed it from the designer. You can also buy the STL files if you really want to. All the links are over on his site. It's $50.99 for the upgrade parts. You're still going to need a plastic kit to put them on.
Yeah,
so if you've been looking for
upgrade kit.
Yeah, it's like yep, exactly.
It's very, very sweet looking coming really from your token Grey Knight player.
Yeah. And the cool part about getting it from Pop is that his stuff is fulfilled via Shapeways, so you don't actually need a 3D printer.
Right.
You just get the physical item mailed to you. Whereas if you buy the STL, you have to have a printer to print it out.
Yep, 100%. So, and of course, it supports a great dude that goes to a lot of events, and he sets up booths at all these things. He would have been in Adepticon, of course. And, really supports the hobby out there. So, can't say enough good things about that. Elric's Hobbies, I think we touched on this last week. They're putting out, they put out Scorched Earth base, which is really, really dope. And Fractured Pavement, I think, is up on their website now as well for sale. So check those out if you're looking for some new resin hotness. They pretty much
they're having a sale too, if I recall.
Yeah, they still have
their sale is. I think it's still going. I'm not positive about that.
Yeah, I have to check.
But their Adepticon sale is extended. I wanted to say it was extended till April. I hope so, because I need to buy a ton of bases and 25 to 32. What do you call those? The adjuster kits that he has.
Yeah.
And I hope I didn't miss the sale because that would suck.
What else is coming out soon? So, Victoria Miniatures. If you've been picking up some of their alternate guard stuff, her Desert Scorpions are actually on sale now. They're in her web cart, so you can purchase them now. They're basically not Tolerons, which are really good looking. So check those out if that's your thing. We talked a little bit about the Lion in the pregame coming out from Forge World. So RTLW actually has a work in progress miniature, and I think Wyatt said that they sent it out. It's actually in production, but there's probably be delays. If the new GW Lion doesn't tickle your hobby pickle, then
yeah. So I think right now they're in the casting process for 4 of their new releases, and the Lion is one of them. And they posted something the other day that was like, "Hey, like we're still working.
Yeah.
But, like mail might be slowed down, but it's still going. They just they wanted to reassure people that like all orders will be fulfilled and all that stuff. So I think they're doing all right.
Well, really, at the end of the day, it's just about getting, if you can get stuff out the door and get it to people. So there's delays all over the place.
Yeah, but even the delays are all going through. I've been buying the shit out of stuff I need or want. They're like, it's not shipping until April 18th.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, still want it. You guys need to catch.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're going to a tournament or something.
Yeah, I have this old saying, this old proverb I used to always use. It's like, gotta spend this money before I spend this money.
Yep.
Rules to live your life by, dog.
You gotta spin your dogs to make your dogs.
No. Money's like Doritos. You just got to get more.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All of those things.
You also have to spend money to save money.
Yeah, that's science.
Yeah, that's more of a hobbyism, I guess. I don't know if that works in the real world, but we'll circle back to it. Army Painter's also has 2 releases. So their hydro paper or their hydro pad and paper combos refills for their wet palette are going on sale. I think they say June 15th. They're on pre-sale right now for $9.99. And their airbrushing medium that you've probably seen a lot of folks using out there are going on sale. I think it's $5.99 a bottle. So if they're not on pre-order right now over on their site, they will be soon, and they will be
$5.99.
I think it's $5.99.
Shit.
Maybe it's $6. I mean, it's way less than Flow Improver from Vallejo.
Yeah, that's a seriously different price.
There was here it is right here. I will pull up my email just to be sure. Airbrush medium is $6.50. $6.50.
Damn, I thought it was going to be at least $10.
Yeah,
for reference, this is a bottle of the airbrush medium for those of you watching live. So it's almost the same size as a bottle of Vallejo Flow Improver, and it's less than the bitch ass little pot that you buy from Games Workshop.
How many milliliters? Okay, so it's 100 milliliters, and the Flow Improver from Vallejo is 200 milliliters. So it's still cheaper by about $3.
You're getting a ton more for your money than if you bought GW.
Yeah,
I think there's a place for both in your hobby arsenal. I use both a lot.
Yep.
I use the Army Painter medium, and I use Vallejo Flow Improver for different tasks. Mm-hmm. It's for $6.50. Forget about it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to have on hand, in your hobby arsenal there. If you haven't checked out we're going to talk about this here shortly too. Our, how easy is 3D printing? We're going to talk about that in a little while too, but we put that out over on YouTube. I feel like it's a great video. It's a lot of still shots and me explaining stuff because I kind of rushed it out a little bit, because this whole COVID thing happened. And I was like, well, folks are going to be sitting at home. Maybe they want to know this stuff. So let's get it out. Let's, kind of throw it out there and get folks.
To be clear, he's not offering you an excuse for his shitty camera work. He's providing you with an explanation for context.
It's still good content. It's just, there's some still shots.
I didn't say it was shitty content. I said shitty camera work.
It's mostly okay-ish. I'm okay with it. So that's the big stuff. Now let's talk about upcoming releases. So Psychic Awakening, War of the Spider, we know about that. We broke the news on Monday, I think, that there would be a new book called Pariah, Psychic Awakening Pariah.
Oh, yeah.
That just hit the ports. So here's the thing. We, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is Pariahs from Necrons.
Because I have a bajillion of them.
Yeah, they used to be really good.
Yeah, have a bajillion of them. Now, rumor-wise, I've heard a lot of different things, some from credible sources. I don't want to get into that yet about new Necrons. There are new Necrons coming. Don't even worry about that. That's the thing. But this may not necessarily be what everybody, like what Haspil just did there, like Pariahs. So there's Necrons still on the chopping block. There's Deathwatch. There's Harlequins. There's Sisters. And I'm forgetting one.
You say Custodes?
No, Custodians are in War and Spider. But that's not necessarily
Wave 2 of Grey Knights.
That's not necessarily indicative of what is going to come in a book, because what we just saw with War of the Spider was they said, hey, there's custodians in here, but guess what? There's more chaos. There's that symbol again. So they've actually used the chaos symbol twice. There's Death Guard. Okay, cool. And then there's assassins and assassin symbol, which isn't on their matrix chart of 25 factions. So they actually they just added a 25th faction to that graphic. So they can just duplicate stuff or add stuff to their chart.
So the rules have shifted. We thought no duplications, had to be new stuff only. You are speculating that is not the case.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that all rules are off. We know there's this chart, and we know what we've seen so far, and we know what they said would be in War of the Spider and Engine War. But let's talk about something that a lot of folks haven't considered. Besides the fact that nobody's talking about that the big FAQ usually drops right about now for 40K. But we're not going to talk about that today. What a lot of folks haven't talked about for Pariah is the fact that there was a little clue to what this all might be back in book 1 of Psychic Awakening, Blood of the Phoenix. And in that, they talked about a sister or a female in black armor with white hair that had a stinging psychic presence and was accompanied by a Eldar warrior with 2 swords in his back, which a lot of folks said, myself included, that that's probably Ephrael Stern, the Damanifuge, and that's probably her companion at the end of that saga, the Pariah, who is also a Harlequin.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like heresy. That sounds like better. Xenos. That sounds like Xenos and humans like working together. I don't like it.
Working together to fight chaos, though, so it's okay. And
that's the slippery slope, son.
They're fighting Slanesh specifically, which we know is in War of Spider. So, a lot of shifting here. If you start looking at things on the macro level instead of just like what GW's given us. Also, that's Sisters, which we still haven't seen their new rules. That's Harlequins, we still haven't seen their new rules. The only thing that's left is Necrons and Deathwatch, which easily could be two new books right there, folks. This could, Pariah could just be Sisters and Harlequins. New rules wise, and then they could have another book as well.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Rob is straight up batting 1,000 on these predictions, by the way.
It's true. I did say in War of the Spider, maybe it would be Fabius.
I'm down for it though. It sounds really cool.
Let me throw this at you too. Demonifuge, which was the graphic novel from Warhammer Monthly back in the early 2000s, 2000 to be specific. Is 20 years old.
Yeah, you're right. 20th anniversary thing.
There is a 20-year anniversary of Demonifuge coming out this summer that nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
All of these things seem to be lining up.
You provided me with a lot of like, I'm not going to, it's not evidence yet, but it's definitely compelling. I think you're right.
I'm just telling you what I know. It may or may not be Necrons.
I like it. Rob's conspiracy corner. Let's do it.
Was it gluten-free gut check?
Yeah, that's a gluten-free gut check.
I'm down for either one, honestly. I have a boatload of Pariahs that I could really use right now, and Lord knows the Necrons could use some kind of psychic defense. So, I don't know, man.
I'm with it.
I'm down for either one, though. I play Sisters too, so I'm like, yeah, bring them.
Oh yeah, what about April Fools?
Oh yeah,
have you factored that into your model of evidence?
No, these are all facts.
Okay, they are facts.
Facts. Tied into April Fools, though. The regimental standard today had a whole thing about guidelines on how to pull an April Fool's joke on your commissar. Which was pretty funny, but there was a telling sentence in there. It said, amusing as it may seem to inform your commissar that the emperor has just risen from his throne, or the lion has returned to join the avenging sun, or that tech priests have all decided to start worshiping a giant mechanical dragon, resist the urge. And I'm like, well, two of those things might be true. So it's like, are they trolling us and giving us a hint that the lion is the next Primarch to come back?
Ooh, wouldn't that be interesting?
So I don't know.
It is truly the conspiracy corner.
It is. If we're just making stuff up now.
The Lion, actually, the Primarch novel, hardcover Lion, comes out, I think, this summer as well.
Let's see. Oh, God. It's piling up. Evidence piling up.
And the like net weight in ounces of the last kit that they put out. I'm just making
3330, dog. I just looked it up. 3 is a magic number.
From Binary.
Yeah. And if you multiply that, you get the exact circumference of the Earth. Crazy stuff.
Oh my God. How many dicks would it take to circumnavigate the planet?
Too many.
Or 9 Wu-Tang dicks.
Oh man.
9 if they're standing straight up. Less if they're lengthwise. That image now in your head.
Yep.
Tom Segura, you're a genius. Rob, is that it for Tabletop Marketplace?
I think so. I'm sure there will be plenty more after the previews this weekend, and more folks get some new products out there and different things we can talk about.
Fair point. Let's kick it over to Mike Haspil for Haspil's Corner.
Yep. And I only have really one big thing. You've heard me talking about, comic books and comic book stores and the comic book industry undergoing particularly some really hard times. A lot of it of its own making, but with this COVID crisis thing, it's probably going to be the death knell for a lot of comic book shops and a lot of indie comics for certain, and maybe even some of the bigger ones. But right now, I just want to highlight Mile High Comics, which is one of the bigger, well-known comic book stores in the country. It's right here in Denver. They are running kind of like a loot crate comic thing. Chuck has like 10 million comics. If you go to his thing, he's like, you sign up for a different tier, he will ship you a boatload of comics. And they go from I want to say $1 to I want to say $40. And the $40 loot crate comic box will be all DC or all Marvel or all Image or IDW or Dark Horse or whatever you're into. And he'll package them together and send you comics. So if you're into comic books and you just want a loot crate kind of thing of comics, go give Chuck some of your money if you can afford it, and help him out.
So
I want to just comment to the chat. Lizard Queen. Now, is your math accurate? Lizard Queen claims to have determined how many dicks it would take based on average dick size.
26 million.
Planet. It looks
26.2 million.
262 million.
Oh, did I misread that? I've got old people eyes again.
So my takeaway from that is it's doable.
It's doable.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance.
Dicks across the world. Thank you for that.
Except 3/4 of those people are going to drown, but that's okay.
People are naturally buoyant. We'll be fine.
We'll have to work it out. I'm so glad that you did that for us, Lizard Queen. Now that we've discussed Tabletop Marketplace, some of these previews, new books, Haspil's Corner, we have a segment that Wyatt likes to call the Straight Talk Express, and we're going to turn it over to Rob, and he's going to begin telling you a tale, an enthralling journey that we're about to go on here. Rob, where does it begin?
So the internet's mad at me.
What?
By the internet, I mean, I know.
You don't say.
Yes. The answer is yes. It's always yes. So we just put out a video. I talked about a couple times already on this episode about how easy is 3D printing. And long story short, if you're comfortable making a gaming table, terrain for a gaming table, maybe a display board or something for your army, you'd probably be comfortable with 3D printing, like learning how it all works, setting it up, about $500-600 out the door. You'll pretty much have everything you need. I went with Anycubic Photon because Titanford sent me one, so I didn't really have a choice. But it's got good marks. It does good things. I love it. Do you want to try some of the other ones? Once we get past this whole crisis thing. Yeah. Anyways, we've talked about 3D printing in the past on Spiky Bits, and I've always maintained basically the same stance on it, which I'm not really going to get into on this, but it will come up later. So, in the comments on my How Easy is 3D Printing video, a particular individual was like, just kind of came at me. One person was like, "Hey, you're two-faced. You said all these bad things about 3D printing, and now you're all about 3D printing." And I was like, "No, here's my position. It hasn't changed." And then this dude came at me, and he's like, "Well, that's really weird because you promote for this company, Legio Models, and they make Night Titan upgrade parts in resin. They're out of Russia." But they do all these things. They take all these designs from folks and then they sell them. And I'm like, and they show me all these screenshots from their, Facebook group or their Discord chat or whatever. They're basically their circle jerk buddies, I guess, where they have this like echo chamber of like all these dudes. They're
masturbation
like
cocoon is what we decided was the term to refer to their group.
All right, what Kenny said. And, they're like very, very angry, but he's very specific about what they're angry about. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can appreciate this. I appreciate you taking the time to post all this. What did Legio say when you asked them? And they're like, blah, 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 blah. They said this. And I'm like, okay, well, where is that? I'd like to see it. I'd like to see your interaction with them, because if you're going to come at me, like if I promote something, let's be real. If I promote something and you're going to come at me and you're like, these folks did this, I'm going to be like, all right, let's talk about that. Like, show me.
Well, Rob, what were they asking of you? It seems like they were trying to call you to action to take a stance or to create an article,
right.
or
they were just like, well, you're saying all these things, but these people steal designs. And I'm like, okay, well, you show me. Like, show me what they said. Show me what you're saying. I want to see all this. And they could not give me anything really super concrete. Now, some of the images they showed, yeah, I could see some similar stuff in some of Legio's things. Cool. Like, I get it. I get your position. I respect it. But what I didn't get was, I didn't get the issue. Like, I'm like, okay, well, where does it say that these things that you guys posted can't be this over here? And where did they say that, I gotta have something more concrete.
So you need, so you're responsible, right? So before you go out and take a stance, right, publish anything online, someone says, these people did this. You're like, okay, interesting. So I need both sides of a story because I'm a responsible publisher of hobby content. Is kind of like what you're saying here, is what I'm picking up.
Yes. I like to think I like to get the bottom of things before we start, really making a position on it or communicating about it. So long story short, we went back and forth, a bunch of comments, and, about 30 minutes goes by and I'm like, yo, I can't keep doing this. You're deflecting. You're not giving me what I need. You're bringing up new issues, bringing up old shit. Like, I can't, I'm basically being held hostage here. So I'm like, look, give me what I need, bro. And he's like, just keeps coming at me wrong. I'm like, okay. So I had to ban him. All the stuff's up there, to check out. He actually, I guess, went through and deleted all his comments, but my side's still up there. You can definitely check it out. We're going to have an editorial about this whole issue, very shortly. So a couple days go by and a 3D sculpt appears over on Thingiverse. A very interesting. I think Kenny had some interesting words for what it was.
Sexually explicit Nurgling featuring the likeness of your future president, Rob Baer.
Yep.
With a very winded, angsty, dripping with sarcasm explanation about said model. I think was called Bob Nurgling. It's great. It's first of all, I appreciate the man crush. It's very flattering, guys. Thank you. I always wanted a butt. I don't have a butt, so it was very cool to see the model in my likeness had a butt. That was neat. Not so sure about the bald spot, but whatever. We'll take the good with the bad, I suppose. So, and in this description, they're obviously like super, super upset, got all these things to say. And I'm just like,
Rob, can I ask you a question? Can we backpedal for 1 second? So like this group, this masturbation cocoon, as it were, what is it, a Facebook group dedicated to, or some kind of group dedicated to putting out STL files for people to download? Like, what is their deal?
I actually don't know. Wyatt knows more about that than I do.
Yeah, I kind of did a deep dive on these guys. So I'm embedded in numerous groups, and this is basically a community of those guys. Like, you kind of remember those guys. Like, if you ever run into that guy who's kind of a salty little bitch at your game store, and he constantly is like, I don't use Games Workshop models, I only proxy stuff, because they think they're like this crusader sticking it to the man, and they refuse to pay for Games Workshop, and their army looks super buster because they're using like all these like dollar store proxy models. And they go around and they're like super proud of this sort of like anarchy type stance they have on things. But then at the same time, they like whinge and moan about all of these different topics. Like, anytime somebody who is ripping off Games Workshop, because a lot of them do, and there's a difference between making like a generic Space Warrior and publishing that, right? Between, oh, I'm just going to do a 1-to-1 copy of this Games Workshop model, which is IP infringement, like straight up. There is no like wiggle room. There is no like rationalization. Like, it is what it is. Like, if I were to create a 1-to-1 replica of the, Shadow Sun model they just released, and I tried to sell that STL, that is IP infringement. And they do this all of the time. And you might have different opinions on it. I don't care. It is what it is. And it's funny because like they go around, they're like so proud about being these internet pirates, but then one of their buddies' channels gets taken down because GW hits them with the old C&D for their theft. And then they whinge and moan about it. Whereas like, if you were actually proud about being a pirate, then you have those files. So you would just be like, okay, business as usual. I expected this, create a new account, re-upload all that shit and wait for the next C&D to come in. So it's funny to see them like bash on people for stealing stuff that they themselves are stealing, and then whinge and moan when their stuff gets taken down or somebody takes it.
So back to Legio. So you're telling me a group of counterfeiters, alleged counterfeiters, is calling out another organization for allegedly counterfeiting.
Well, so I don't know if that's exactly the case. So it's designers. We'll call them makers, I think is the actual term.
Get a term for it.
So it's folks that are making designs, whether they're on the one end of the spectrum, where they're salty sea captain pirates, or they're over here, they're just like, I just want to make something cool. It's really hard to say specifically, right? But so it's a collective group of sorts, from what I gather. And you can also infer that from the comments on that YouTube video as well. It's kind of like what Wyatt was saying. And we've done posts in the past, and this is a completely separate thing. But we've done editorials in the past calling out this sort of behavior. Like when GW previewed the Scorpius tank, some dude designed one and had it up on Thingiverse for download before GW had even released their model, right? And I did an article about it. I'm like, it's right here, guys. Here it is. Go look at it. And because I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it was a call to action for the manufacturers, because at the end of the day, this is going to be an issue for our hobby going forward. Like, just like it was for the music industry, just like DVD piracy and movie piracy was for the entertainment industry back in the day, this is going to be the hot button issue for the hobby industry going forward. And it's really just that, hey, you guys need to be, manufacturers and designers need to be aware of the situation, because they need to have something in place or be aware of that this is coming down the pipe. Because as we fast forward to 2020, we download music, we stream music, but we pay for it because it's available to us in a nice, easy format. And for the most part, we just buy it.
Can someone explain to me how, because I don't know any of this shit. I don't 3D print yet. I rely on you guys to send me 3D print stuff, and like people like Titan Forge and stuff. But what kind of protections in place like on Thingiverse? I hear people talk about Thingiverse all the time.
There's basically none.
Okay, what is it? I mean, like,
when you upload something on Thingiverse, part of the end user license agreement is like you can create a license for the things that you put out. Most of these guys do not, because they know that you can't license something that is a one-to-one copy of a licensed product from another company. So like 99% of all of it is just put out into the Creative Commons. It has a Creative Commons license on it. Sometimes they will take the time to be like, hey, don't sell this, or whatever. But, it's like if I'm making a one-to-one copy of Marnius Calgar and then like putting that STL out there for free and saying, don't sell this, like if somebody starts selling it, what is my recourse? Because like I'm in fact doing something, that I'm not supposed to be doing. So it's like counterfeiters being upset that other people are remixing their stolen stuff and then that was put out for free on the Creative Commons and then taking that then original piece and making profit off of it.
Okay, so now I see the crux of this,
Right.
Okay, so like this dude, okay, totally makes a lot more sense to me now.
So that was their thing, is like, I'm promoting for Legio, but Legio is allegedly stealing designs and selling them as part of their own. And they're, from what I understand of what I could gather, again, I didn't have the best information. I was trying to get more, was that some of these elements were being put into other kits that they were actually putting out. So, I get their position. I do, but like, you got to give me more. And, if I'm going to go to Legio and be like, hey, I can't work with you anymore because you're stealing stuff, I got to have something to show them. Like, I can't just go to them with that. That being said, if anybody ever has a problem with anybody that we, promote for or something like that, please get a hold of me and I'll do what I can to like resolve the issue.
Email him.
Yes. Like a responsible human with very, write it all out so we can see it. If you don't want me to use your name, that's fine too. It's very easy, but it's not hard. Like, so I did speak with Legio and I was like, look, you got to handle this because this has been going on since October apparently, and now it's spilling over into my content, which is not good for anybody really. Like it's just dumb. So I told him, I was like, look, I'm not going to promote your stuff right now until you either, deal with this or whatever, just get it resolved. Like you gotta either be like, hey, well, you did something wrong, say you're sorry and move on. Or if you didn't do something wrong, be like, we didn't do anything wrong and here's why. And get the story out there and get in front of it instead of putting your head in the ground and just acting like nothing's wrong and it's going to go away because now it's at my doorstep. And, it's just all silly. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Right.
As an outside observer, I see what exactly the situation you put in. So it's like, if you got a problem, you're going to call Rob out, which is obviously a popular thing to do, right? And you're going to call him out and you're just going to deflect and you're going to use old shit and you're going to try to call him to action. He's very responsible. He's not a journalist, like, first off, but he holds himself to a very high standard of like what OG journalists did. So he needs more than that. So that, to the point of like, if you have something like that, you can always email Rob, but be a fucking professional. Now, Wyatt, a question for you was, cause you seem very informed on this Thingiverse, some of these rules. So if somebody puts out some unlicensed shit on Thingiverse and someone like Legio takes it and remixes it, are they allowed to sell it? Like, is that something to your knowledge that they're allowed to do?
Yeah, they're 100% allowed to do that. So there is like a remixing community on Thingiverse. Like I, in fact, made a remix, which is the jet bike that I made a few months ago, and it's out there for free, Creative Commons, because I didn't make some of those assets. I did create a lot of assets for it myself, but I used other things. So lots of people do this to make cool, new, exciting models that people can then download. But kind of the whole thing is like, if you put something out on Thingiverse and you don't license it, which means that you're putting it out there for free, it's Creative Commons material. Like, just like a story like Alice in Wonderland is like Creative Commons. Like anybody can make a movie about Alice in Wonderland because like technically nobody owns the rights to it.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing with these models, except that most of the time what these guys do is like they know that what they're doing is not okay, and they try to dodge the C&D. So they like label them very like weird things to make them very hard to find, which then promotes these like secret communities of Facebook groups and Discord servers where they will like point people to where to pick all these up because it's impossible to find this stuff sometimes. And then thus creates this like kind of toxic community of like the pirates and the smug boys like, and the anarchists that it's like
many little masturbation cocoons sprinkled all over Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, oh, Rob Baer like made this article and like this guy got his stuff C&D'd, and so we're mad at him now. But it's like, guys, like, you know,
is it really my fault?
No, it's not. And so, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like this, it's a little scummy to do that, to like, you know, to like take the Creative Commerce, remix it, and then sell yours at a manufacturer level. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little scummy, but it seems totally like allowed, right? But, and to Rob's point earlier about like the MP3 stuff and like DVD privacy, when that was new, a lot of shit happened, and then a lot of rules got put in place, and then the industry changed and how we consume that technology changed. I feel like we are absolutely like approaching that, right? Because it's so much more complex than I thought. Hearing you guys talk about it, because over the last like 6-7 months, you guys have both gotten into 3D printing and really started up in your knowledge game. So you are our show's experts, and this is.
Yeah, and I really like it as a hobby. There's lots of really cool stuff out there. And I mean, like, there's some really talented groups of individuals. Like, I like to shout them out because they do what they're supposed to do. And they, you know, support the 3D printing community, like the Makers Cult. I'm one of their patrons because I think they make great work. And they have original designs that are really, really cool.
Cool guard vehicles.
Yeah, and I'm part of their Discord. And it's a patrons-only Discord, and it's very positive, very upbeat. They were some of the people that helped me start 3D printing and work out the kinks and stuff like that. So I'm very appreciative of that community. And I've printed some 3D printed some stuff for my content. And I like to pay those artists because it's like, it's basically free in GW money, right? Like if I want this dope pirate ogre that I just painted, right? I'll pay $3 for that. I'll support that artist because here's the thing, like all these independent artists that are making these cool things, like they're not a huge corporation, right? They're like an individual. So if you don't support them, they're going to stop making this stuff. And I want them to keep making cool, exciting new things. So I pay them and I support them. But what I don't do is I don't print out like copies of GW models I can buy on the shelf. Like there's a line that I won't cross when it comes to that. Yeah. I only print out original stuff.
Yeah. I think go ahead.
Sorry, Rob. I was just going to say, if you wanted to dip your toes into 3D printing without actually picking up a 3D printer, check out your local library. Believe it or not, like my library here in Colorado Springs has a whole makerspace, and they have 4 or 5 3D printers. Now, I don't know what the quality of those are, like if they were up to snuff to making minis, but you can certainly bring in an STL file and you pay for materials. That's it. So check it out. Granted, right now it's not really an option.
Yeah, don't really have that. And I think, you know, this whole episode, you know, with this model that was created and these haters is literally on the same person's Thingiverse account. He has a 3D sculpt that he put up on his page that is literally a 3D sculpting of a conversion I did in 2012. He literally even named it the same thing.
Wait, which one was it, Rob?
The Stormhound Walker. That
is, if anyone doesn't know, that's like a long ass time ago. First off, that picture was a big part of your banner on Spike Games for a long time.
Oh yeah, a long time.
It got you kind of on the map, like face wise. Like that's when I mean, it's a big deal. So I find it highly hilarious, and you're not bothered about it. You're like, yo, it's a conversion I made of other dudes' shits, man. Like it's just interesting that it's still the same fuck dragon group of guys trying to finger somebody else for doing some shit like that while doing it. And they went to the guy who they've also done that to themselves to put it.
Yeah, it came at him like super aggro, like he's the problem when he's not the problem.
Interesting.
I think people when they have these attitudes, they're just coming in a bad place, and everybody's got a lot of time to stew on things. Like I get it, and it's just human nature, the hypocrisy and the just naked aggression in some cases, or that thing where you misplace your anger or whatever. I forget. Transference. Yeah, that.
Transference. Because at the end of the day, if you're losing your emotional, calm because of toys, because of this, think about how lucky you are. You know what I mean? Like I can afford to get pissed off at Star Wars Episode 9. Why? Because I don't have real problems in my life. That's why. You know what I mean? If you can afford to get pissed off at toy soldiers, you're really, really lucky. You're part of the 1%. Congrats.
Yep.
I mean,
it really is.
In the midst of all of what's been going on too, Rob, like we're currently living through, in my opinion, the biggest world event that's ever occurred. This pandemic.
Quite possibly. Yeah.
And I mean, definitely in my lifetime, but like, it's pretty fucking big deal. And with all this going on, this is still what's happening in some, not everywhere. There's been a lot of weird positive shit that I'm not used to on the internet that I haven't seen in a while, which has been fucking amazing. I've been seeing a lot of people who can give more, things like that. Mm-hmm. It must suck. It's sad. It must suck. And I am stealing a little bit from Wyatt's earlier on the pregame show, to be somebody who that's how mad you have to fucking get. It's sad. And he used the word pathetic, which I actually think is perfect for it. No cursing, no swearing, like you said, Wyatt. It's fucking pathetic.
When you're trying to have put forth an argument, anytime that you swear, it's just a proven sociological thing. Like when you swear at somebody, it makes you sound less intelligent, and it triggers that response in their brain that makes them want to be like, okay, well, fuck you then. They immediately stop listening to you. And I don't care if these people listen to me because they're garbage people, but I just think that it's crazy that I have never been that upset about anything. And anybody who knows me knows I've been through some real shit, some real life-changing shit. And these guys are so upset by a website that puts out new release articles and talks about toy soldiers that they are sitting around in their little private masturbation cocoons, as Kenny likes to say, and just stewing in this toxicity that they create. And it's just to me, it's so pathetic that a grown man would that's what takes up his time. You know what I mean? And it's just I can't even empathize with their plight, because it's all self-created. It's all self-generated. Their attitude is so toxic that to me, it's just fucking pathetic, and it's not worth my time.
Agreed. I threw what attention and time I could at it to try to get a resolution for them, but it didn't even get to a mature point where I could get the information I needed to even do anything actionable. So I did what I could, but at the end of the day, there wasn't much I could do except for disengage. And that's just life. A lot of times you just got to walk away from things. So, it is what it is. It's just, first of all, very flattered. Thank you for it's my first figure. So I'm very, very flattered by it. So I downloaded it. Definitely going to print it out. We'll probably make some changes to it.
Did you send me a high-res picture of it so I can use it in the thumbnail?
I did. It's in our Facebook chat.
Thank you, sir.
You're probably going to have to black out a few things.
Yeah, might have blur out some stuff.
I haven't seen it, so thank you for telling me. Because
I haven't seen it.
No. Wednesdays are a busy day for me, man. We jump into the podcast. I mean, this is my 6th hour of streaming already. It's so a lot of things happen in that chat, and I am backlogged by the time we get to this. Gotcha. But I love it. I'm not complaining. I love Wednesday. Wednesday is my favorite day of the week.
Oh yeah, it's the go day.
Yeah, we get to do so many cool things related to this hobby. Kind of adding to your guys' points about all this is or Haspil's point about you're lucky. This is all you get to complain about. Like literally.
Yeah, there's like people wondering how they're going to feed their kids or pay their rent.
Yeah.
Like that's real problems. If you're worrying about,
Yeah, dude, like read the fucking room. You know what I mean?
Well said.
There's some shit going down right now, and no one wants to hear you complaining about toy soldiers.
No, wah. Fucking grow up. Go watch Tom Segura's new.
Yeah,
Stay
I can
on
say that
Netflix.
now though because my Grey Knights don't suck anymore.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be still complaining about Grey Knights.
And at least for now, Abrams seems to be laying off of you and trolling you with GW releases. So
Yeah.
So I mean, even G-Dub, we were talking about it earlier. You know, even G-Dub, the Citadel Paints company, is now making hand sanitizer.
antiviral, antibacterial hand sanitizer. Yeah, that's what's up. I think that does conclude this discussion, though. You guys have any more on that?
No.
There will be an editorial. Rob assures us, though, that will expand upon those thoughts, though, on Spiky Bits, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Can't wait to read that shit. It's gonna make my whole fucking day. But just to reiterate, thanks for kicking it with us, guys. Thanks for providing us with a sense of normality and routine during all this. Helps us feel like professionals and like we are still doing our job. And I think it honestly makes, at least me, I can't speak for you guys, but it makes me feel less anxious to be able to do these things still with you guys.
I look forward to it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, Rob,
Get to sit, talk about nerd stuff.
my favorite thing.
100%.
I wanted to have a shirt on my store that was like what is best in life, and then it lists out the 3 things, but it's limited to like 100 characters, so I can't have it. It makes me sad.
Oh,
It was like it could not fill out the final line of "Hear the Lamentations."
Oh
of
my
the women.
God, you're
It's
such a
too many
homo.
letters.
I've taught you how to use Photoshop, right? Do the design of Photoshop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to. I was just like that was like last night, and then I went to sleep.
All right, good. I'm glad you solved this one on your own.
Yeah, it'll get done.
Ship's computer.
Haspil, take us out of here.
when some wild-eyed 8-foot-tall maniac grabs you by the neck and taps your favorite head against the barroom wall and looks at you crooked in the eye and asks you, have you paid your dues? You just remember what old Jack Burton tells you in these times like this, and you look that sucker right back in the eye and you say, have I paid my dues? Yes, sir. The check is in the mail.